Hello everyone, good afternoon. So today I'll be talking about the optimizing web performance in Next.js. I'm Khushi Verma, software engineer in GeekYants. So firstly, I would like to tell you about the Next.js. We have all know a lot of things, the popularity of Next.js, that it is a framework of React.js, and it is having a lot of benefits to use in the website, and for by using this we can increase the performance of our website by using the very fast delivered features which Next.js has. So from after this I'll be talking about the the two types of router which it has, and depends on our use case we can prefer to use which one is the good for us. So the first one is the app router and the next one is the page router. So based on we are having file based routing in the Next.js. So it's like if we are using app router, it is having the nested folders and the dynamic routes, the nested routes. So if we are having some sort of complex projects, we can prefer to use the app router. But if we are having the straightforward, simple level of projects, small level of projects, you can say, then we can use the page router. After that, if I talk about the components, so for the components, we are having, like in the app router, we are having by default components as server components. But in the page level, it's like a page router, we are having client components. In the app router, it's like if we want to use the client components where we want some sort of interactions, user level interactions, then we can use that use client directive on the top of our component. And and for the page router, we are having some sort of component props like get server side props, static side props, if we want to use server components in those. For the data fetching also in app router, we are having fetch function. And if I'll talk about the layouts, so the layouts is like in the page router, we are having static level of layouts, very simpler one. But in the app router, we are having nested and the dynamic layout, which is very useful for the complex level of projects, which we can use and utilize those features. Now I'll be talking about the data fetching methods which we have. So it's like first one is the server side rendering which we have, and this depicts like the component which has been already rendered. Why is this so? Because it's like whenever a request we hit on the Next.js application, the HTML, the JS which is going to load, that is going to handle on the server side. The the user will be able to see the response, the output immediately, which is very fast. So that's why the component has been already rendered, and all the JavaScript that is going to load it over there only, not on the client end. It's on the server side only. So which is very good for the user experience. They will able to quickly see the output, quickly see the response. They don't have to wait. So that is the best thing about server side rendering. And I'll be talking about the perks. So it's like the first one is the initial, like the improved SEO. So if I talk about the search engine optimization, which is a very important thing for our project, for our website, after it has been completed and go into the user side on the customer sites. So it's like this provide a very good improved SEO, search engine optimization, having a good level of indexing and crawling. What I mean by that is are whatever the keywords which we are using for that. So the indexing will be happen very fast, the crawling will be happen very fast. That crawling of keywords will be the crawling will be very fast, like they will be able to crawl the words, and by that our ranking of the website will be on the top whenever someone search about those keywords. So by that it is like we are having improved SEO. And as we are using server side rendering, so everything will be already rendered, then we are seeing all those things on our web page. So it's like very fast initial loading times, the user don't have to wait for all those things. And the third thing is like dynamic content handling. What I mean by that is whenever we are having some sort of things which will be changing very frequently, very fast, so we can have the dynamic content handling. If tell you the example for this is the e-commerce website. So on the e-commerce website, if I'm going to purchase some sort of product, I'll definitely check the reviews first. Then I'll go and prefer to buy, or I'll think about the second thing will be let's buy this product. So the reviews which users have added over there, that is the dynamic thing which will be updating very frequently. So that is the best example of for the server side rendering. That particular thing was must be rendered server side. That's why we are able to see the changes very quickly, very fast. Now I'll be talking about the another data fetching thing, that is this SSG, that is static site generation. What happens over here is like I'll explain the whole cycle. All the pages whatever we have are going to generate statically, and will get to deliver to the client, to the users from the CDN. Now here the CDN is the content delivery network. So that is like the page is getting delivered from the CDN, which is very fast. The user, the customers, the client, they don't need to wait for the things, for the loading of the pages, for the output, or for some sort of interactions. So the static site generation is like where we know that okay, this content is going to be static, or this will not change frequently. Then we can have this sort of data fetching method, static site generation. So if I'll talk about the perks of having SSG, so first one is the loading time, which is like extremely fast if I'll talk, because since all the rendering is happening now, all the rendering is now happening behind is about they are not dependent on the server. They already things are getting rendered, and then we are serving all those things are static right now. So first thing is they are not putting pressure on the backend server, not relying on the server to generate each request, to make a API call, then we have to serve. Those kind of things are not there. And by this we can reduce the issues like the server side scripting attacks, those kind of things. Ultimately this reduces our server cost also. So as we are now more secure, not relying on the backend server to generate our each content. And similarly for this also we are having a good level of search engine optimization benefits, which are like indexing and crawling is very nice, very optimized. A user will be able to see the things very fast, since everything is generated on statically. We are serving the files statically to the client, to the users. That's why. Now I'll be talking about the another data fetching method, that is the client side rendering, CSR, if we say. So this is the whole cycle what is happening for the CSR. So this is like we are making some sort of request, then the server will fetch all the things, JavaScript files, all the scripts and all to the client, and then it will load all the static resources, everything, and then the rendering of the things will be happening. All the things will be on to the for the client. So it is like if you are clicking on some sort of a button, everything is happening, rendering is happening, everything is happening on the client side only. So this is like client side rendering. And if I talk about the perks for having CSR, or where can we use CSR, so it's like whenever you know okay, this will be having dynamic updates, clicking on some sort of thing button and having a pop-up, or like interactivity, user interactivity is there, then you can have the dynamic content or those things, then you can have CSR. The best thing is if we are just clicking on some sort of thing, not the whole web page will get reloaded, it will just load the particular portion where we are interacting. So that is the best thing we have for CSR. And ultimately this don't put load on our server, since everything is getting on the web page on the client. to the for the client in front of client system, you can say inside the client system. So we are not putting any pressure over there on the server. So this is like we are having a very good user experience. Clicking on something, everything updates dynamically, frequently. So that is the best thing we have. If I talk about the example of client side rendering, so I can tell you like Instagram or any social media feeds which we are seeing. Okay, so we are just clicking on like button, updating comment, something like that. So that is the best example of CSR. Things are just updating frequently, dynamic things are there. It is not static or putting pressure on the server, then it will fetch and then will show you. It is not like that. So everything is just dynamic and frequently showing the results to the user, which is a good user experience. So if I talk about the another feature, so that is the automatic code splitting. So code splitting is like, now if we talk about the folder structure or the layer things which we have, so it's like we have based splitting, which is like we are having that type of folder structure, file based folder structure, where it is not like that all the things are loading immediately. The file or the route on which we are going, only that particular code is getting loaded, and which speeds up our load time, and which is actually very good for the server or for the client also to load the things. And it is having the layer of splitting, which actually put less pressure or reduces the amount to load the things or to produce the output. Next is the dynamic imports. If I talk about dynamic imports, it's like uh, if we want to load some sort of component not immediately after our page loading has been started, but we want that component should load only whenever we need, not every time. So what we can do, we can just load that particular component asynchronously whenever we need. For example, a text editor is there. If that text editor we know that we need right now, after some time, then we can import that component dynamically, so that in the build time also it will be very good for us, while building the project also, while loading or while showing to the users also, it will be very good, having a very good user performance. Now I'll be talking about the just gist of the things, the performance things which we can use to have a very good performance. So it's like choosing the techniques based on the use cases, SSR and SSG, based on our use case. Next one is the image optimization. By image optimization, what I meant is we can use the image component provided by the Next.js, where we can give the width, height accordingly, or we should give, so that it will not impact the image image it will not impact the level of the image loading, or the performance of the image while loading in the end. So that is actually necessary. We can also decide if we want to preload that image. We can just preload that image, so that after some time, whenever we need, it should just immediately load, and the user will be able to see the things very fast. Now next one is the reduced JavaScript size. So if I talk about the JavaScript size reducing, so this is like whenever we are building the things, it definitely happens that somewhere between the code base, some of the unused code has been there, which unknowingly we didn't paid attention like that. But that is the thing which affects in the long run, whenever every application, or whenever all the application has been built, then this issue comes up, and then we have to look into these things. So how we can fix this is like by checking if some of the imports or some of the code which is not we are using, okay, and then that we can remove by removing that, by checking our scripts which we are loading, how we can optimize those scripts, like that. And by that we can have a very good bundle size. By analyzing bundle sizes, what that means. And after lastly, we can use the prefetch data next link. So next link is like it makes our navigation very fast by going into from one link to another link. So that is very fast. You don't have to wait and to see the results and to go into another link. So that is eventually very fast and improves performance, user experience. Next, if I talk about, so next I'm going to talk about the core web vital metrics which Google has provided. So it's like these are the metrics. On the basis of these metrics, what we can do, we can analyze our pages, sections, components, and specifically we can optimize those things, and which leads to the very good performance, very good website score. So the first one is the largest contentful paint. And before analyzing all those things, we should actually build our project using yarn build or npm run build. Then we have to start the project yarn start or npm start. So firstly, first metric is the largest contentful paint. So this metric which measures the loading and the time, how much time it takes the largest element. It can be a text, it can be a video, it can be a image which is taking time to load in the viewport for a specific time, like that. And here is the score metric, like 2.5 seconds, till 2.5 seconds it's good, and after that improvement, and then it is poor, like that we are having. So next, I'll be showing you the example how you can identify this metric in your web page, and then how you can improve. So firstly, here we are having this CNN website, where here what is happening, this image which is there, this is getting loaded after all the page content is there. So this is the example of LCP. Here the LCP element is this image. So what we are going to do is like we should analyze, okay, that this image is there which is taking time to load. So what we can do, we can just optimize this image. We can add a priority. There is priority attribute which we can add, which is for the purpose of telling that this image is having priority, high priority. We need to load this image earlier, and then we have to show, so that our user should not wait and should not delay they should be able to see the changes, see the image frequently. They should not be able to see the things later on. So this is the example of LCP. In this second picture also, this blog section is there, where the small image, this E3's organizer image, is not getting visible clearly, or it is getting delayed. And for the another one also, this StockX was hacked image is there, which is like loading later on after all the content is getting loaded. So for this also, similarly, we can optimize this image and add the priority, having the proper sort of width or height, so that this can be preloaded, and the user should be able to see very quickly, very frequently with the other content. Now I'll be talking about how we can, if our LCP score is low, then how we can improve that LCP score. So the first, which I have told, like optimizing images, and the next one is the reducing the render blocking resources. So the render blocking resources, what I meant by that is the unused code, which whatever we have. So what happened is that it blocks our resources whenever in the main thread everything is going on. So by during that time, the unused code is also getting processed. All the things are getting processed, which should not happen actually, because the user have to wait over there. So that is not a good experience. So we can reduce that, and by using the async and defer attributes. What I meant by this is, like, in our scripts which we are loading. For example, if I take the example of Google Analytics, which we use to track if we have if a user comes on our website, how many times they have clicked on the website, like that. So what we can do, we can just add those async or defer attributes in our script, so that what will happen, whenever those scripts will load, okay, and whenever a user is clicking on some sort of interaction is there, So this will go parallelly, that script loading will not interrupt the user interactions. So that is the best thing which we can improve. And next is the optimizing web fonts. What happen is, whenever we have some sort of fonts, so that font which we have on the whole page loading, that font will maybe later load later on, or that will just show us the fallback font, not the actual font. So we can just optimize our fonts also. Then we are having the pre-connect is for having early connections for the links which we have. And the preload is the loading of the styles. Sometimes what happen is, our content is getting loaded, but our styles are loading lately, or getting delayed, which is also the reason of having low LCP score. Now I'll be talking about the another core web vital metric, that is the FID, first input delay, where the first input delay basically is about the interaction. It is about the interaction what a user is having, like clicking on a button, a modal is opening up. Is there any delay or not? That type of things are measured under the first input delay. So if I have clicked on some button, and that should redirect me to another page, or should open a modal, suppose, but that thing is happening in after few seconds, which should actually not happen. It is not a good user experience, and ultimately it delays the score and whole website score. So here is the example of showcasing what is happening if this sort of things happen. User has clicked on the some yes, place my order. This should actually immediately show the order confirmation. But what happened? Ultimately, they clicked on no, go back. Now it is showing order complete, which is the delay, which should actually not happen. This is the ultimately bad user experience, and it is not providing the users immediate action or the immediate results what they want to see. So now it's like, I'll be telling when this happened, what was going behind the scenes. Whenever the navigation started, the things loaded, styles and the browser, everything got loaded. And the users, whenever clicked on that particular request and received or just requested something, but immediately that result should show. But what happened is, like, browser didn't responded anything, because, or the thread didn't responded because the main thread was doing something else. It was processing some other things that were the scripts, maybe the unused JavaScript code, anything. Those render blocking resources were there, so those were actually blocking, or those were delaying the results which a user should actually able to see immediately. So that was happening behind the scenes. Now I'll be talking about how we can improve our this score. So it's like, firstly, the JavaScript execution time. We can optimize the script, the code, so that the JavaScript will execute faster and the user will be able to see the things faster or on time. So it's like breaking up the long task. Suppose we are having long, heavy computational things, data processing things, or complex logical sort of things, large files. So what we can do, we can have some sort of small chunks for those, so that our main thread will be free always while loading all those things. So we can use web workers for that to just offload our heavy task, like that. And third one is the by using that async or defer attributes to load our scripts asynchronously. Next, the third metric which we have is the cumulative layout shift, that is the CLS. So here, what the CLS is, what happened whenever our web page is getting loaded, some portion or some section is getting shifted. So why this happened? Because that image which was loaded on top of that content, on the top of that fold, is pushing that content down, or some another ad which is getting loaded, for which maybe we wouldn't have reserved a particular space, that okay, this ad will load, we should reserve a space for this. So maybe that ad is pushing our main content downside or somewhere other kind of shift. So that is actually leads to low CLS score, which is like having a very user can have a bad experience, and which ultimately leads to low CLS scores or score or low website score. So now I'll be showing you the example how this happens. This image is getting loaded later on, but pushing our main content downside. So this is the example of cumulative layout shift. So here what we can do is like to improve this issue or to improve this RCLS score, what we can do all when we know that okay, that image or videos which we'll be having, we should provide a good amount of width or height, or the required amount of width or height which we want to include for those things. And if we know that okay, there here might be any ad will get loaded further after the all the coding or live process of the website, then we should reserve some sort of space, fixed space for that ads, so that that should not impact our content which is getting pushed in the earlier example. And next we can do is like preloading our fonts. When we know that okay, this font is important and this will get loaded, so we can preload. The benefit of preloading is it will not it will not take much time on the go, and if it was preloaded earlier, user will be able to see the things, see the fonts immediately whenever the page is getting loaded. Next is how to see all those metrics which I have told right now, and on which tool or by using which tool we can see is the like first one is the Google Lighthouse, which should actually which will look like this in your Chrome browser. Next one is the Web Vitals extension, which you can download. So if I talk about both are same only, provide the same sort of metrics and the suggestions to improve. So it's like if I talk about the Google Lighthouse, here you can compare, here you can select the categories for which you want the report for, and for specific device, mobile or desktop. And from here you can create multiple reports and analyze those page load. Make sure to build before doing these things, and to analyze the scores using any command, either npm build or yarn build, and then npm start or yarn start. And to resolve all those issues first which comes up while building, then you have to then you can monitor all those core web vitals and improve the scores by the methods which I have suggested. After improvement and all those things, your file, the report will look like this, having performance, accessibility, the SEO, all the things it will tell. This is it from my end. Thank you.